Man City, it's a must win. The WSL game is a must win for them. Like if they have to get that Champions League spot next season. And I feel like if they don't get that Champions League spot, like they already have there have already been reports of Laia Alexandre leaving for Barcelona. So it'll be really tough for you to hold on to certain players. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channel, all about the W. Ash and I are here today to discuss the FA Cup fixtures that happened last weekend, as well as talk about the big news that broke on Monday uh, when we found out that Gareth Taylor has been sacked as the Man City manager and that Nick Cushing is going to be interim manager for the remainder of the season for Man City women. So, Ash, how have you been?
I mean, I'm just excited for the League Cup final. So this Gareth Taylor news came out of nowhere. But apart from that, I'm hanging in there.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I think, Ash and I were discussing about the number of views we've been getting on the channel, etc. And Ash said that, maybe there's been a dip in the number of views because, the WSL is not exciting anymore. So Man City said, hey guys, hang on, maybe we'll help you out. And just like sacked in the like Gareth Taylor in the weirdest of times. I can't wrap my head around it. So let's talk about it, Ash, shall we? So Manchester City put out a statement saying that Manchester City prides itself on competing at the top of the WSL and on its outstanding record of qualifying for European competition. Unfortunately, results the seasons have so far not reached the standard. So, with 6 games of the WSL campaign remaining, we believe that a change of management will breathe fresh life into our bid to ensure qualification for the 2025-26 UEFA Champions League. All right, so we know as that Man City are currently fourth in the table, 1 point behind Arsenal, although Arsenal do have that extra game in hand. So tell me, you said that you were pretty surprised with the news. Tell me your thoughts.
Honestly, I think that like firing a manager before a final reflects to me that it is a cost cutting measure. I'm assuming, like in my head, I'm assuming that that Gareth Taylor probably has some sort of bonus for winning a trophy in his contract, and I think if I don't think that the firing of Gareth Taylor in itself is a bad move, in the sense that he's had the time to build a significant squad strength and all of that, right? So that when you can still win a title while plagued with injuries, etc., which is the point of every football manager, right? Like you have to plan for injuries, you have to plan for a whole season. It's a squad game because you're playing every single trophy that's out there. So in that sense, I think that in a long term perspective, the firing of Garrett Taylor to me makes some sense because he's proven that he doesn't rotate very well and that he wants to play with the same 11. And it's not possible in today's game for a manager like that to win the WSL, because of or the Champions League for that matter, because of the demands of the game, and it shows on his team because last season was so strenuous, and this season that they're seeing the effects of that this season with their injury crisis,
Yeah.
with Bunny Shaw, with him, with their defensive injuries, to Greenwood, etc. So I think that uh, in the long term, I understand the move. But the thing is, to fire a manager before a final is because Garrett Taylor is still a good manager. He could have still won you that final,
Yeah.
with his strongest 11. Um, and, Chelsea, there's been a slight dip in Chelsea's form, and Bunny Shaw is back and starting to show that she's in form. So, this is the wrong time to have sacked your manager. Also, because I feel like it doesn't show ambition. Like, what is the manager's job? A manager's job is to win trophies, right? And you cannot if a manager has brought you to a final, to sack them before the final is sacrilege, because
Yeah,
your job this season is to win trophies, and this is your best chance to win a trophy, because this is the only final you have reached. The WSL is out of question. You're fourth in the table. The FA Cup remains to be seen, but this, like, and I doubt the Champions League, like,
yeah,
so this is your best shot, and I just do not understand why you would like sack him after. Like, I
yeah.
understand that fans would be like, "Oh, he won. How can you sack him?" But I know every City fan would understand if the long term perspective was put in front of them. You know?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, in fact, for me, sometime around this time last year, City had like this really exciting, successful run of games, and Man City renewed Gareth Taylor's contract, I think, for 3 years. And in the summer, I fully expected him to go. Like, I fully expected him to get sacked, and like City to have a new manager, because you know I guess you can look at it like in both ways, right? Like, one is that, he really pushed his team and almost won the league, right? And they lost the league on goal difference. There was an issue around mentality there, etc. I personally feel that's literally, I feel like the fact that they could possibly win the league if they won that match against Arsenal, like, really got in their head. Like, it was a must win for them. So, like, you can think of it that way, like in a positive way, where you say, hey, he almost won you the league. But the other way is, to look at it, is that he didn't. There is a mentality issue there. And of course, during his time as Man City manager, I think in the first year, Man City won an FA Cup, and then they won a League Cup a couple of years ago. So it's not been a particularly successful record for Gareth Taylor, and especially with the kind of squad he's had. I mean, there was one season in between, I think 22-23 season, where there was like this massive turnover in squad. But I think the thing that I want to talk about with Gareth Taylor, I think, is that he seems to be a poor man manager. Um, and I think tactically, we know we've discussed some of his issues, right? Lack of rotation and inability to adapt well in game. He has a plan A, and sometimes he doesn't know how to tweak that depending on game state. But like, in terms of man manager, like the kind of turnover that Man City had in 2022, like, you lost Lucy Bronze, Kira Walsh, uh, Jill Scott. I mean, Jill Scott retired, I guess, and Caroline Weir and Georgia Stanway. Like, that is a massive. That is like the entire spine of your team gone. And I mean, to be fair to Taylor, he did deal with it, I guess. But the point is that if players don't want to stick around for your manager, then that is indicative of a bigger problem. Like, for example, I mean, I was just like on social media, and I saw like this Instagram post from Ellie Roebuck, another player who left last season, not on good terms. Ellie Roebuck had posted this Instagram story where there was this picture of a boomerang, and it said, "What goes around comes around," or something like that. And Chloe Kelly had immediately kind of liked the man. Taylor has been sacked post from Man City, like, stuff like that. It's really telling that there's something wrong there, and you don't want to be that manager. I mean, you don't want your club to have that manager who's just going to freeze players out of teams, not giving them a second chance. But yeah, I mean, again, like the timing of it, Ash, maybe I just want to discuss one last thing, because there is that very, very important run of games that City have against Chelsea. This news really, um, I am very unsettled by this, because the funny thing is, um, in the press conference after the FA Cup game, um, Sonia Bompastor was asked about playing Man City 4 games in a row, and she said, "You know what? I've done this with PSG. I know how to deal with it. Like, you just need to look at it one game at a time, and that's what they always say, right? One game at a time." And she said, for me, the best thing is I want to go 100% prepared. And now you have a completely new manager in Nick Cushing. And I'm just wondering, how do you think this is going to change that Chelsea Man City dynamic?
I mean, on the one hand, it might prove to be like, sometimes you have that new manager bounce. Like, it has to do with the fact that no one knows how you're going to set up. Like
Yeah,
with Gareth Taylor, you know exactly how City are going to set up, irrespective of who plays in the starting 11. So in that sense, it is a detriment to Chelsea. But I think Chelsea fans should be happy about this news in general, because that sort of upheaval, especially when you have something like these are all really like high profile, like important games,
yeah,
especially that League Cup final. So I think that in I think that with that much pressure and a new manager and so much upheaval and the injury problems, I don't see Man City getting past Chelsea. So I think that Chelsea fans should be celebrating Gareth
yeah.
Taylor's departure.
Yeah. Let me offer you a pessimistic view
Of
on
course, as
this.
always.
As always. No, I mean, it's not really a pessimistic take. I think I'm just really curious. It was mm, this month was, we knew it was going to be long and painful, right? But now there is some spiciness to it, like with this new manager. And the things that I've read about Nick Cushing is that, a lot of players have praised him for being a really good manager. Somebody who's tactically very adept, somebody who's very likable. Like I feel like he can give one of those rousing speeches, which will then go win you up. Like players would want to like run through a brick wall for him or whatever. He seems like that kind of a personality. But of course, like you said, like 5 days before a League Cup final is absolutely crazy. Like I don't know what can be done there. Uh, but I mean, from like a Chelsea point of view and from a Man City point of view, I was thinking about this in terms of which games are important for whom. So the League Cup final, I personally feel like Man City have more to lose because that is, like you said, like that is their only trophy. So I feel like they will really come guns blazing for that one. Uh, and Chelsea, apparently, we just love losing League Cup finals. So I'm just going to take that one out of the equation. I'm just like, chalo, like it could be either of the team's day. But the fact that, um, like, the one game that Chelsea can actually afford to lose in all of this is the WSL fixture. And that is the one game that Man City cannot afford to lose. So, there are these like little things, and Chelsea absolutely do not want to lose the Champions League. So, I'm just really curious as to how the rotations will happen because I feel like the priorities of both teams are kind of at odds with each other, if that makes sense. Which
Yes.
makes this even more interesting because, like Man City, it's a must win. The WSL game is a must win for them. Like if they have to get that Champions League spot next season, and I feel like if they don't get that Champions League spot, like they already have there have already been reports of Laia Alexandre leaving for Barcelona. So it'll be really tough for you to hold on to certain players, maybe even like somebody like Lauren Hem. I don't know. There's that like possibility of playing Champions League football that is very important to like elite players. So yeah, very very interesting stuff. We'll see how this plays out. But Ash, let's look at the FA Cup fixtures in the weekend. And I think let's start with Arsenal versus Liverpool because yay. Okay, Liverpool beat Arsenal 1-0, an unfortunate own goal from Daphne Van Domselaar. Uh, Ash, what did you think of this game? Did you expect this cup set to happen?
Honestly, I did not expect it. I am very happy about it. I'm always happy when Arsenal loses, and like looking at the score line, if you hadn't seen the game, you would be you might think that it was a smash and grab. Like if you just saw the highlights and you saw that it was an unfortunate sort of own goal. Fortunate if you're a Liverpool
Yeah,
fan, and like it's sort of like the ball sort of like hit Van Domselaar and then went into the goal, and it was just like all around unfortunate in that sense. You would think that it was a total smash and grab, right? But it really wasn't. Like if you and I feel like Arsenal have been slowly inching towards this defeat for a while. Like even in the weekend when we saw that 3-4 score line, uh, what was surprising to me was the Arsenal midfield, because I feel like both Little and Walty aren't offering Arsenal the midfield spine that is required to play the way that they want to play. So I just feel like there is a weakness in that midfield. And I think Rene Slegers, as a new manager, has not figured out in-game management yet. She's excellent at like setting up the team for success before the game. But Liverpool lost Matt Baird, and I feel like the Arsenal strategy tactically was to play a Matt Baird Liverpool,
yeah, yeah,
because what Liverpool did very very intelligently was just they. It's not like they had an insane high line, but they moved their players all up, say, 2 or 3 steps. So their line immediately sort of was pushed forward, and that meant that the Liverpool press became more potent.
yeah,
And like in like even though it doesn't, like, the stats may not bear out on this in terms of possession, etc., Liverpool actually controlled that midfield,
yeah,
uh, because the Arsenal was kind of lost in that midfield. And I did feel like Arsenal did not create enough clear goal scoring opportunities
mm,
because they did not have control over that midfield.
yeah. They had
So
like one shot on target, I think,
yeah,
Arsenal,
yeah.
which is
So
crazy.
I think that Liverpool actually played really well. Uh, I think Olivia played an amazing game. I thought she was just sensational, and she was coming off the wings, almost like cutting in,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
making these amazing runs all the time. And I feel like just it's remarkable how just pushing your team forward can give so much like freedom to your attacking players, because they don't have to cover, like, earlier what was happening is, because they were playing a really a lower line, she had to like uh, cover a lot of distance, and then she would get crowded out because everyone would come back into position. And now you're playing to her strengths. So I feel like in that sense this was a great sort of tactical maneuver. And when Rene Seger saw that they had changed their tactics and they had moved their line forward, her response should have been uh, to change it up for Arsenal as well. And I think
yeah,
that didn't happen. They continued playing with the same tactics, and I think that is where they lost the game. It was a close game. I feel like Arsenal could have won it if they had simply just like accounted for the new line that Liverpool were playing, and I think that they
yeah.
couldn't.
Yeah, I agree. I think the other thing that I really noticed in this match was like Liverpool are a side that are capable of being physical. And I feel like I haven't seen enough of that this season. But in this match, you really saw it. I feel like Arsenal, like, yeah, the physicality, like, for example, that yellow card that Hovinger picked up, it's just,
Oh yeah,
it was just like, just making a statement that, hey, we are not afraid to go through you if we need
yeah,
to win this cup tie. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
genuinely, Liverpool seemed like the team that just knew that this this is a cup tie, this is a knockout competition.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, and
I
I think
mean,
there is, yeah,
I know that there were a lot of Arsenal fans crying that Hobinger should have gotten a second yellow because there were two, three like half fouls that she committed after getting a yellow. But the thing is, I felt like Liverpool were counting on tactical fouling, and managers should keep in mind when a team has the tactic of tactical fouling, how they should like counter that.
yeah.
And I feel like Renee Slegers didn't notice it in time.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting, like few games for Liverpool in the FA Cup, but also in the league. And see if they can like maybe even push Brighton for that fifth spot. But yeah, I mean, yeah, the thing that I loved, two things that I loved, the physicality that the Liverpool players had, and also just like how much Katie McCabe got cooked by Olivia Smith. It was a
Yeah,
joy to watch. Not her best day in the office for sure. Yeah, I think for me, in terms of the Arsenal midfield that you mentioned, like I was surprised that Cooney Cross and Kim Little were on the pitch for as long as they were,
yeah,
because it just wasn't working. And I would have expected one of them, probably Little, to get hooked, like maybe closer to halftime, like at 60 minutes, but it seems like she actually played till the 83rd minute. So there's an issue with substitutions also, because like when you see that Liverpool is controlling the midfield, they're winning all the duels in the midfield. Like how do you respond to that? Like you do need to bring on somebody else, like somebody who can control the game, for example, like Leo
yeah,
Walti,
yeah.
sooner. um, but yeah, I mean, so um, yeah, so maybe let's move on to the next match. Ash, Manchester City versus Aston Villa, which finished
Yeah.
2-0 uh, to Manchester City. Bunny Shaw scoring in the 53rd minute and Jess Park in the 71st minute. Quickly, Ash, what did you make of this team? What do you make of?
I mean, I thought it was another day at the office for City in a sense. Uh, it was a very like standard way to combat City for Villa. They basically decided to pack their box and like kind of they gave away the wings and said you cross and we will see what we can do with it. And the thing is, it was just the first half. It looked like it might be working because I mean they were not the best at dealing with all the crosses, but they were, I mean, last ditch defending. It was working, and like it was cross after cross after cross after, like it was a marketplace of crosses. Like there were every kind of cross, short cross, long cross, uh, low cross, high cross, every sort of cross was
Looping
happening.
ones,
And
yeah.
yeah, I mean, uh, but they were just getting crowded out of the box, like especially if you looked at Amidama, like they were focusing on crowding Banisha and Midama out of the box, and it was kind of working because there'd be like four Villa players around every, like a City player with a ball in the box.
Yeah.
So and if you crossed it in, it would eventually hit a Villa player on the head or something. So it looked like it was working, and this is why you need a striker of the sort that Banisha is. Like even when, like, I still think Banisha is not at full potential. I
Yeah.
still think that like fitness wise she's not yet there
Yeah, Gareth
her
Taylor
peak.
mentioned as much actually before he got sacked. He did
Yeah,
mention as much that she still is dealing with like some issue with her
yeah,
knee, which is something she's had from the beginning of the season. So
yeah.
she's playing with that injury. So yeah,
But like she's such a game changer. That goal was just a perfect striker's goal, okay?
that
Because
that assist, what a
yeah,
beautiful assist from Mary Fowler. My God,
yeah, absolutely
that's
peach.
yeah, just
Like peach
dropping in
assist.
front of her.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
it dropped just in front of her. And like uh, if a strike, like this is the importance, like when you have the ball players that City does, you drop the ball in front of Bunny Shaw, any other striker, you take a if you release that ball too soon, like if
Mm.
she had gotten the ball and just shot,
Yeah.
uh, the goalkeeper would have stopped it.
Yeah.
And if she had gone even one more step over, the angle would have been too tight.
Too
You
tight.
know,
Yeah.
so Bunny Shaw released that ball with an inch, like the
Yeah.
ball fell within inch perfect precision. She shot it at just the right time.
Yeah.
It was, and that goal transformed that game, because what happened was after that, like Villa had to come out because they couldn't pack the box anymore. They were losing. They needed to score. And immediately that transformed the game because
Yeah.
then City could just do whatever they wanted. And, like once that second goal went in, it was game over.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So
I
that
mean, one more thing I
brings,
wanted to
yeah,
sort of point out about Villa is that they benched daily and they were kind of, I can see the logic. They were trying to go for speed. They wanted, to use Emily Salmon's speed to, do a effective counter attack. But my problem with a lot of these managers who choose like pacey strikers, like bench their regular goal scoring striker. I mean, I don't think the stats for this season for any Villa player should be a comment on their capabilities. But
yeah,
if you bench a striker for the sake of speed, I've always noticed it doesn't work because it's not enough. If you're a fast player who's precise, then you're peak, right? Your best. But Salmon had two or three opportunities to score in this game. And like she was not able to take any of them despite getting there really fast, and I think that's a, like you don't bench your goal. Like if you have a precise goal scorer, somebody whose conversion rate is good, you pick them over the fast player, in my opinion. So
yeah,
I maybe Natalia Oreiro is still working over who's the best player for every position and stuff. I just
yeah.
felt like it was the wrong decision in such a big game.
Yeah, it's true. I'm just a little. I feel like Rachel Daly has been a very reliable goal scorer for Villa. Maybe not in, at least not in the second half of the season, but like in general. So taking out a player with that kind of experience, and somebody who actually wears the captain's armband on the pitch right now. She's not the club captain, but she does because Rachel Corsi does not start many games anymore. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the vibes um, were off there. But you know what? She's a new manager. She needs to try things out, and we've already. I think for them now, the focus is just to make sure that they don't fumble it and get relegated, because
Yeah.
Palace are snapping at their heels a little bit. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Coming
yeah,
coming
yeah,
to like I feel coming to the next game, which is United versus Sunderland. It finished 3-1 to United. Gorton scored in the 7th minute. Leticia scored in the extra time in first half, in 45 plus 2 minutes, and then Toon scored in the extra time in the second half, in the 91st minute. Um, uh, how did you feel about this game? Like, and sorry, Lewis Griffith scored
yeah.
in the 70th minute for Sunderland.
Yeah.
How did you feel about this game, Kai?
I mean, it was a fairly like sort of expected game. Like I could see Sunderland's game plan. I feel like many teams had like a similar game plan, which is to sort of I think Palace did as well, to kind of hold off till halftime and then see how they can push on, like try to score, like basically like a smash and grab game plan. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately for Sunderland, it, like conceding in the 7th minute means you're kind of almost already out of the tie. Um, I think the result was pretty much expected. Like United were playing at home, they had to get this win. Sunderland are like sixth in the championships. They're in the championship right now, and they're 8 points from the top. So yeah, I think the result itself was expected. Uh, I'm really curious to see. I think United now have this FA Cup, and maybe. like they definitely, I think, will have the Champions League spot, and maybe they could pip Chelsea to the top. Who knows? If Chelsea do have a wobble at some point. Um, but yeah, I think I'm really curious to see how Mark Skinner is going to rotate his squad a little bit over the next few games, because the one thing I did notice is that they didn't rotate a whole lot. They already had Jade Riviere who's injured, and that back line is pretty much like they don't have a lot of depth, right? Like Anna Blundell is pregnant, Jade Riviere is injured, so Aoife Mannion is coming. Your centre back pairing is the same. Like your back five is pretty much the same almost always. Um, they have a little more depth up front. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. Hopefully, nobody picks up an injury and they can have like the best possible chance at getting good outcomes, in terms of winning one or two like pieces of silverware. But yeah, I mean, beyond that, nothing much to say. The Sunderland goal, I was happy to see them score. To be honest, it's nice to see like a championship team score against like a WSL team that's in really good form, right? The goal itself, I mean, I think it was a poor clearance from Maya Letizier. I think, I mean, yeah, I feel like she could have done a little better there. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see a championship team score as well. I think they had like a little bit of a celebration, which was great. But the
Yeah,
game
I
was
mean
already gone by then.
it's nice to get that sort of confidence, especially scoring against United, who have such a good defense.
Yeah.
Coming to the next game, Chelsea versus Palace finished 1-0. James scored in the 64th minute. Lauren James seems to have really come into some form, I think. How did you feel about this game?
Yeah, I mean, Lauren James seems like the only person who can score a goal right now in Chelsea. This game made me really anxious, man. I felt like it was 60 minutes, and Myra had just come on the pitch, and I was like, you know what, this game stinks of one of those one of those games where you just don't score, and then the opposition just gets you on a counter. um, and I was panicking. It was full panic central, but because it honestly seemed like one of those days when like the ball just wasn't going to go in, because Chelsea missed so many sitters in the first half. um, but yeah, I mean, I was really disappointed with Palace. Like I feel like, you know like we talk about the magic of the cup, right? And that like uh, teams that are in bottom of the table teams, uh, really bring their A game to like a cup tie, or at least that's what's expected, right? It's a very real chance at winning silverware, and Palace offered nothing. Like even when Chelsea scored one goal, I still felt like Palace was sitting back. um, like you said, in the Man City versus Villa game, Villa had no choice and you don't have a choice. It's a cup tie. You have to at least equalize so that you can play into extra time, maybe play for penalties. But yeah, it was very disappointing to see from Palace. I get that, like they did miss Lexi Potter dearly. I felt, because she's obviously like a Chelsea loanee, which I think did affect the balance of their midfield quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, from a Chelsea point of view, I do feel like Chelsea could have easily had like at least three goals. The scoreline is honestly very flattering to Palace. It did not like it. Not only did Chelsea dominate the game, Chelsea also created really good chances. They just couldn't finish them. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Let's
about it
let's
for this.
hope let's hope Chelsea find their finishing boots before they play City. Um, just a last quick word on the draw. So Chelsea now have to play Liverpool and City now have to play United. How are you feeling about the draw? Do you think are you happy that you have Liverpool to play instead of like another game with City or United?
I mean, I'm not happy now that they've beaten Arsenal. Like, that new manager bounce is really kicking for them, has really kicked in for them at least. But you know what? I mean, you're in the semi-finals of a cup competition. Anything can happen. At least on paper, Liverpool seems like it seems like an easier draw. But fun fact is that the last time Chelsea lost to a team, it was to Liverpool. So who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I'm actually excited about a Manchester derby for a semi-final. I think that I mean I would have loved to see a Manchester derby in the final, but they're always so much fun. And like this time, United versus City had been so high drama that I
Yeah,
think a United versus City game is always going to give some great football, if nothing else.
yeah, that's true.
Okay, yeah. Anything
All
else you
right.
want to talk about, Kyle?
No, I think that's just about it. So, yeah, so we will be going live for the League Cup final. And we'll also drop a preview episode for that League Cup final. So keep your eyes peeled, everyone. A reminder to all of you to like our videos, subscribe to our channel. We know that the WSL has gotten a bit drab, but there is always drama in the Barclays WSL. So, keep the faith and do subscribe to our channel. We'll catch you soon. Bye.